The Suicide Squad might seem like a standard superhero movie, but it's actually a scathing critique of American exceptionalism and interventionism. John Cena's character, the Peacemaker, serves as the perfect representation of distancing oneself from culpability. He is willing to do any and everything for the good of his nation. The same goes with Amanda Waller and her crew. Waller seems ruthless in her pursuit of protecting America. Her staff follows orders, even though they feel uncomfortable, until the turning point in the movie. The Suicide Squad's mission focuses on retrieving information that shows America in a negative light and destroying it, even though they were the ones who initially started the experiments on Starro. Plus, the subversion of expectations in this movie is phenomenal. The enemies, who seem to be socialist adjacent, are depicted as the clear-cut bad guys. But once we find out about the US's involvement, things become dicey. To achieve true peace, it's important to be critical of all wrongdoings, not just the wrongs committed by other countries. Another thing this movie does well is breaking down social contexts. A lot of heroes are depicted as moral arbiters. They always try to do the right thing, no matter what. The Suicide Squad challenges this idea by contextualizing circumstances. Bloodsport is a violent criminal, but he wants to protect others, and his ultimate goal is to save his daughter. Dichotomies like this make us question the morals of our involvement with media. Do we cheer for the main character or condemn him for his past wrongdoings? This is such an interesting approach because it feels more realistic. A bad person can still do good things, and a good person can act horribly. Both of these elements in the movie help the audience to understand that context is everything. So today, I wanted to go over the political messaging in the Suicide Squad and talk about why the Peacemaker is a perfect character. I'm Very Berry. If you enjoyed this content, like and share with your friends. Also, don't forget to hit that sub button and notification bell so you always see my latest videos. This movie starts with pure Americanism, the flag in the background, rock music blaring. At first, the US's plight seems understandable. Stop this growing nation from harnessing a weapon of mass destruction. These bad guys committed a coup and are planning on destroying the world. Only one group has a chance to defeat the enemy, the Suicide Squad. Aptly named, these individuals have no say in the matter. They set out on their mission, while people in the office bet on their lives. The crew seems like an allegory to attack the hierarchical structures of the US military. All of the staff seems terrified at the unilateral control that Waller has. You can see the discomfort on their faces when they are complacent with things they don't agree with. I think this embodies the lived experiences of many in the US military. There are countless anecdotes of veterans who suffer from PTSD after following orders. As the group embarks on their mission, they slowly realize that things are morally hazy. Waller instructs them to kill a group of villagers to which they hesitantly agree. Come to find out, they were actually allies. Waller seems a little sketch at this point, but once they visit the lab, things become clear. Their goal wasn't to stop Starro, only to steal data to remove themselves from the situation. America led the research and development of this beast by using a heinous amount of sacrifices. Legality was an issue, so they decided to work with the so-called enemy government to achieve their ends. Although once it rendered bad results, suddenly they have no culpability in the situation. Guatemala's destabilization is a real-world example of this phenomenon. The United States Fruit Company used exploitative farming practices to ensure they would make a large profit. Then the US helped support a coup of a democratically elected politician for its own gain. This eventually led to a war that tanked the country and economy. After the fighting ceased, Guatemalans suffered the consequences. They currently face increased violence against women, rampant poverty, and sex trafficking. But as migration from this country increases because of worsening conditions, suddenly, America says, "This is your problem." Criticizing our institutions through mainstream media can help spread awareness about these issues. Someone who isn't as politically aware might become interested in the conflict presented in the film and invest more in politics. Others who are involved may question the political systems they exist in. The US has a pretty extensive history of brutality and violence that is important to recognize. I also love what the movie has to say about framing these issues as a means to escape the repercussions of one's actions. The Peacemaker fights for freedom, not to protect the status quo. Waller fights for America, not to protect the military from harsh criticisms from the public. When we frame interactions in this way, so much is already taken for granted. Protecting America is assumed to be a good thing, which is why Waller defends her harsh treatment of the squad. Freedom is also similar. Who cares if the Peacemaker kills babies? It's so that others can remain free. In a morally neutral view of the situation, killing innocent people to achieve freedom strips the ones who were killed of their freedom. If America created Starro, then they should be responsible for the outcomes of that choice. Framing these issues in a morally neutral way lets us understand and analyze the harm that the US has inflicted. Although Waller and the Peacemaker can't deal with the responsibility of these actions, fighting for freedom in America is an easier defense to make. Now, I think it's time we talk about the king of framing himself, the Peacemaker. The Peacemaker's character is the perfect way to satirize hyper-nationalism. He will do anything in the name of peace, even shoot a baby if it's necessary. Ratcatcher even makes a joke saying he's the real crazy one, although his role had a surprising amount of nuance. At first, we see this ruthless vigilante, willing to do anything for perceived justice. But there are moments in the plot when we see internal conflicts in his character. He begins to care for his allies, like when he hears the Ratcatcher's backstory. Peacemaker has genuine empathy for her plight. Another time we see a crack in his character is when the group finds out about the hard drive. Rick Flag decides he can't look away from injustice, and expresses a want to share this information with the public. In this scene, John Cena should have executed his allies instantly. If he killed Ratcatcher and Rick Flag, the conflict would be resolved for America. Instead, he hesitates. He begs Rick Flag, "Don't make me do this." But this person stands in direct contrast to freedom from his perspective. Peacemaker never hesitated to kill innocent people before. Why would this situation be any different? He even bragged about killing babies. His character helps to convey an idea that is truly powerful. Humanistic interactions are a direct counter to removing oneself from the situation. He can annihilate random people easily, but not someone he shared emotional moments with. Even though the Peacemaker puts on a facade of being a hardened killer, he still has feelings. When he murders Rick Flag, the remorse on his face is more than recognizable. When Flag dies, he utters one of the best lines in the movie.
Peacemaker. What a joke.
Which is the truest read of his character. Fighting for freedom means nothing if others have to lose their freedom for the goal. Then it becomes selectively fighting for freedom. By this logic, the ones who deserve to be free are the ones in power. Martin Luther King talks about the idea of negative peace.
I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice.
This quote embodies the Peacemaker's mindset to me. His ravenous goal to pursue freedom hinders his ability to see his wrongdoing. He is devoted to order, not justice. The Peacemaker believes the only way to maintain freedom is to crush the opposition if necessary. What he fails to realize is that he is protecting freedom for those in power. When someone annihilates dissenters, they aren't achieving justice. Those who are silenced still have grievances, but they might be too afraid to speak out. Negative peace is terrifying because it can give the illusion of contentment. Someone who is upset but is too afraid to speak out isn't happy still. Justice might seem present in this situation because no one is complaining, although true justice involves taking responsibility for one's actions, not perpetuating harm. Thanks for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. We can learn so much from the media that we consume. Suicide Squad can teach us so much about context and accountability. These concepts are important and impact the way we see the world. It's easy to assign blame to someone without thinking about their life circumstances, or walk away from problems that we helped cause. But to combat negative peace, we have to have justice and freedom for all. The Peacemaker is thought to be the ultimate patriot, although a true patriot is someone who criticizes the institutions they exist under. Let me know down in the comments, what did you take away from the Suicide Squad? How did the political messages in this movie impact your perceptions of reality? I'd love to hear from you.